Hi guys, how's it going? Okay, so the verdict is still, and I'm sitting in my spare room right now. This is the only time and only place I can actually do this video. Um, I wanted to do, before the verdict comes in, I'm hoping that it comes in tomorrow. I really am hoping that it comes in and it's not going to come in while I'm like driving to a wedding first thing in the morning. Or well, if the verdict comes in live while I'm like performing in this wedding, I will fucking lose my mind. I will lose my mind. Yeah, I'm using like throwing some f bombs around. My son is still here. We just had his bath, but I wanted to get this video done. I've been trying to figure out. I'm trying to do a little bit of research. When I say research, I mean like just trying to like review some testimony before I made a comment, because when the last time I did a video on Amber Heard's testimony, um, it came up from a very emotional place because I watched her direct. I didn't really watch a lot of her cross examination at the point of me. Actually, I don't even think I watched any of it at the point where I made the video about her testimony, because I was very upset, and rightfully so. Like, it was very triggering for me. So I was pissed. I was just like pissed. Like it was just pissed. So now that all the evidence has come in, I may be a little bit biased when I review her testimony, but now it makes a little bit more sense of why I would feel that way. Um, I'm giving a little bit more honest feedback of her testimony, and now that I've seen everything come in, I've seen all of the other evidence come in, listening to it back, I'm like, I understand now. Oh, that makes more sense. Oh, okay, this is why XYZ happened, or XYZ was said, or XYZ did whatever. So I have some notes, and they're not like structured through. It's hard to listen testimony, work, and then get your toddler in, and you're doing it all by yourself. So like trying to figure out, like, by the time that he gets home, like I just have like no time for anything. So I was like, crap. And then I'm like done. By the time he goes to bed, I'm like absolutely like fried. My brain is fried. So it's kind of interesting. This camera, like, it's exact opposite of what I'm looking at. So day one of direct, I'm just gonna go through it, and then like, I'm not gonna say like I'm Team Johnny 100%. Like, you guys know this, I'm 100% Team Johnny all the way. I don't believe like a lot of the like in regards to her assault. I don't believe a lot of things. I'm gonna talk about that later. But with Johnny, I'm not saying he's an altar boy. I'm not saying he's perfect. Absolutely not. I'm not saying that he has not made mistakes. I'm not saying that he's not shown that he's made mistakes. He's also acknowledged them, and then what he says has been very linear. And yeah, there's a lot of narrative. Yeah, he can be a little bit more descriptive, and takes a little bit longer to answer questions. But that's how he's always talked. I've seen, I've seen interviews with him. Everyone's seen interviews with him. That's just the way he talks, and he talks in very, to me, it's a very fluid fashion, but it's also very kind of drawn out, and it's also very poetic in the way he talks. Sometimes it's kind of like, hey, can we just like wrap it up? Like, I was like, I don't got time for this. We gotta keep going. But at the same time, it's very believable what he says, and it's understandable what he says. Hold on. Before she's gonna try and call you back, so I gotta. Telling her not to. I'm just doing a video right now. Please don't message me. Doing a video. Call you after. Thanks. Alright, sorry. So he's very linear. He talks very poetically. Sometimes it takes a little bit long to answer. Does he acknowledge and admit when he's wrong? Yeah. Is he telling us everything? I think so, because there would be no point to expose all of this if he wasn't just gonna. And a lot of it is fucking embarrassing. Like, it would be like, I'm embarrassed for both of them, but a lot of the pictures are not flattering. The texts are not flattering. The audio is not flattering. The video is not flattering. But there's also some things, like some highlights that are endearing in regards to his character. So he's very believable. It's Johnny, and it's just okay. Well, I understand you're flawed. However, it's very contrast to what is being presented on Amber's side. And a lot of Johnny's witnesses are like like the medical team, his security, the Los Angeles police department, some friends, some of his, I guess employees. Kate Moss came in, like they had expert witnesses. Obviously, they came like from the medical professionals, but not everyone was on Johnny's payroll, and a lot of them were very unbiased, and all of their stories were consistent, and helped his case. So, and of course, there was cross examination where it may have like kind of not moved the needle over to Amber's side, but kind of just stopped a little bit, and just like may have not helped Johnny in some ways. But whatever, doesn't matter. His case in chief was done. Then we got into Amber. Dr. Hughes, her testimony was very biased in regards to like she was really using the pronoun of he or she and her and all that, like very on Amber's side, and not really putting in perspective that men can be victims too. So anyway, besides that, so Amber goes in. I'm like running out of battery already. Are we kidding me right now? Okay, back to charged. All right. So what I was saying was, okay, so now we're back in Amber's case in chief, right? So day one of testimony, her like day one of direct. Beginning, obviously she talks about her background, and thing is, I believe that kind of stuff. Like I don't see any sort of hyperboles. Like she was very consistent in her tone. It wasn't exaggerated. It was just very very simple and easy to talk about your background, especially if there's like nothing significant about it. And I don't mean that to be dismissive. I don't mean that to be whatchamacallit, insincere or insensitive. It's just if there's nothing that really stands out, there's nothing to, like, you just don't need to, lie about it. So I actually felt like I believed her story with her background, like the kind of work that she did, how she got to Hollywood, all that kind of stuff. I actually do believe all that. Whether or not some of that stuff is true, I don't know, but it was actually more believable for me to be like, okay, well, cool. But also wasn't very interesting, so I didn't really care much about it. So I'm going to just jump into a couple things that she was asked about based off of, like, the incidents in regards to where the witnesses came in to testify or corroborate and all that kind of stuff. And they go into, like, a playful interaction in his trailer, and the way she talks about that, it was starting to feel dirty for me. Like there was some sort of like ill intent, and a story that didn't seem to matter or have any relevance in regards to their relationship, because like they were flirting and all that kind of stuff. But the way she was talking about it to the jury was like she was making a point of Johnny was almost being inappropriate with the way he was approaching me, the way he was talking to me, but I was allowing it to happen. You know, it was just kind of weird. So apparently there was a phone call, like he called her like after a shooting wrapped or something like that. He called her and she found it very startling. And it's like, why would you find it startling for Johnny Depp or your co-star to give you a call one day and be like, hey, we got a press tour or whatever? Talking to the jury about, like, you know, it was obviously more than just about work. And it's like, well, why would they already know that? Like, it was just, let's just tell them what happened, whatever. Again, it didn't really I didn't feel like it had any relevance to the story, but he was giving her lavish gifts, like bicycles and guitars, and I thought that was really odd. It's like, well, you know, I obviously can't accept that, I can't accept that. It's like, you can't accept that, but you can allow your friends to live in his penthouses for free, rent free. That's fine with you, but you can't accept a guitar. Like, it just seemed really odd. Keeps mentioning tea, like how much he drinks tea, and it's like, what the fuck difference does it make? He's drinking tea, like, who cares? And then, you know, talking about his generosity with friends and family, and then all of a sudden, like, her mood shifts in regards to how she talks about him. Like, oh my god, all of a sudden he was accusatory, like, thinking about me being, like, cheating on him, and, like, taking, like, like movie scripts that were under his approval and all that kind of stuff. And I know in the previous video, I was like, if you're independent, then tell him, like, I'm going to do this script and go fuck off. Like, yes, I understand. I just did an F-bomb with my kid in the room. But for me, you're barely dating. You weren't living in his home. You weren't serious. So why, and you came here, you came to LA from Texas on your own merit. Why is it that his decision or his influence or his opinion bear any weight? Yes, I understand that having your spouse's opinion is important, but why does it bear weight on your actual decision making? If there's a script, you're an adult, you can choose the type of scripts that you want. If you can't trust each other, then you shouldn't be together. Okay? This was before any of the alleged abuse. Way before. But if that was the case, then that should have been a fucking red flag for you. And don't give me that crap about, oh, you know what, like, I had no idea who Johnny Depp was, and, you know, I've just met him, like, I didn't really know, like, whatever. But, and the same thing with, like, asking, or talking about the way she dresses and stuff like that. It's like, sorry, girl, like, you can make your own choices. And, you know, that's, like, maybe it was jealous, and maybe it was a little controlling, that's okay, not okay, but, like, maybe that is true, but doesn't mean that he beat her, right? Doesn't mean that he beat her. The jar of cocaine thing, like, whatever. There's a jar of cocaine, the jar of cocaine. Johnny Depp drugs. Johnny Depp drugs. Like, he does drugs. He's a rock star and he's also a movie star. He's been like that forever. Like, why is that news? Why is it a big deal? You also do drugs, girl. You also do drugs. And she tried to placate it or dial it down. Hey, baby. She tried to dial it down every time she was on the stand, or the entire time she was on the stand. She had to dumb it down, like, oh, I've only done it once or twice. I never did it around Johnny, and I, you know, tried to help him with his drug use. It's like, girl, you have your own problems, okay? Like, you have your own problems. And that was really irritating for me, hearing that. And going back to hearing it again, it got me even more irritated, but I came at a more, like, level field. And then the tattoo. She talked about the tattoo. That was the first time he hit her. And I'm assuming, quote, everything is alleged. So when I talk about it, everything's alleged. You all know this. The tattoo. If you knew who Johnny Depp was, you've obviously seen him naked before. If you guys are dating, you've seen him naked before. Why all of a sudden are you talking about this one tattoo that everyone in the world knows about? Everyone in the world knows about it. And you make a big freaking deal about it. He's got like hundreds of tattoos on his body. That's the one thing that you're freaking worried about. That's the one thing that you don't know about. You didn't understand. It looked like gibberish to you. Girl, please. Oh my god. And then she talks about, oh my god, did it just hit me? Did it just hit me? Okay, you said that, like, she testified to that after the third time that he hit her on the couch to the dirty carpet, which I still don't understand the sequence of that. And there's been a lot of, like, reenactments of how that even happened. It's like, what? I don't understand. So I was like, did he just hit me? But she said that he hit her 2 times before that, and it just, what? It just didn't make sense. Like, when the first time said she laughed, and then Johnny's reaction in the courtroom was like, I what? Like, because he looked like he had no idea what the hell she was talking about. So, she laughed and he laughed, and then his reaction in the courtroom was eyebrow raised, like, what? And then the second one said that she knew that it was no joke, and then she also mentioned this is the first time she's ever been slapped. And it's like, well, she didn't mention abuse in her, like, her background story. She didn't talk about being abused by her dad. And like, what do you mean that's the first time you've been slapped? Again, alleged. And then the third time, it's like, did he just hit me? It's like, you just testified that he's hit you two more times, so why is this all of a sudden a shock for you now? And keep in mind, like, I'm trying to be very careful, or very, like, I don't want to be insensitive to anyone who has been through this, and, like, maybe some of these reactions could be real, but, so I do apologize. I don't mean to be offensive to anybody, okay? So don't come at me. She said it didn't hurt. Again, don't know if it's the carpet edge of the couch. Let's talk about the dirty carpet, which I thought was weird. Like, we kept saying dirty carpet, dirty carpet. One, I've heard that line in movies before, or TV shows. Actually, no, movies. There's more movies. And second, he's a multi-millionaire. Doesn't he have a maid? Like, wouldn't she be offended if he kept saying dirty carpet? Like, he thought the carpet was dirty? Like, why is it so dirty? Like, I don't understand. Why is it so dirty? Then the waterworks start. The waterworks? which is really interesting because, and I'm going to go over some of her witnesses later in another video, but one of her acting coach said that she had hard time crying on cue. I don't know if the on cue part was quoted, but she had a hard time acting crying, which I thought was kind of ironic, given that she can't cry on the stand. She could make the faces and like make it look like she was crying, like the horrible faces, but no tears. Like we saw nothing. Let's see. I'm gonna skip some of these. She left and went to her car. She was like had her face on the window, and like she saw her breath on the window when she was in her car. Accusations of cheating, but it was later confirmed by Josh Drew, one of her witnesses, that when Johnny was out of town, she brought like 30 plus guys over, or guests over. So like whatever. She stared down the jury a lot. She stared down the jury a lot. Like, during direct, totally okay. From what I understand, from what I'm learning, it's actually okay to do that because you're giving a narrative, right? So you're talking to the jury, you're telling them what's going on, cool. But on cross-examination, we'll talk about the second cross-examination, it was excessive. Like, I thought she was getting whiplash. She could have gotten whiplash. She was just like, that's a lot. Like, that is a lot. Let's see. She's talking about the different types of Johnny there are, like the different, like alcohol Johnny and opioids Johnny and Quaaludes Johnny and cocaine Johnny and all that kind of stuff. Like it's just like he's like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde Johnny. Then there's a stage, and it was hard to get a timeline, and I didn't even bother. Like I was just writing notes as I was re-listening to it, so I didn't actually listen to the timeline. But eventually we got to like a September, October, possibly December of like 2014 or something like that. I couldn't get the timeline, but I'm trying to just go as linear as I possibly can right now. Elaine Brennerhoff, her lead counsel, I believe it's her lead counsel, pulls up a picture of stage. It's like it looks like a staged Coke pic, like completely staged. Like it was just like. It wasn't like Coke was everywhere or like some smudges on the lines were used. Like it was like 4 straight lines, a cigarette here, a shot in front, his drug bag right next to her, pill bag right next to it. Like it was, and a CD he was recording. Like all of it was his, whatever. And quite frankly, even if it wasn't staged and it was just like a normal day for him, most likely she was a part of that, so she wanted to use that as some sort of evidentiary or whatever. That's my take on it, because it's like you're already doing the drugs with him. Like, you testified that the glass behind in the table, or on the table, was yours. And then the rest of it was Johnny's. But you sat in front of it and took a picture and then sent it to your friend saying, yay for mornings, or whatever it was. Like, was that hyperbole? Like, were you saying, yay for mornings, my boyfriend brought me some Coke from his jar? It's just, whatever. That's what it looked like to me. So, moving on. Hicksville. The wrist comment. When she talked about how he grabbed a woman's wrist in Hicksville and like grabbed it and said, "Do you know how many pounds of pressure?" That's what she said. How many pounds of pressure it takes to break a human wrist? And when she said that, there was a split screen. You see Johnny's face, and she's saying that he was like, "Wow," like just like shaking his head, going, "She's really doing this. She's like just making shit up as she goes." My question was, why not, if this was all true, and she had mountains of evidence, which she claimed to say, I have mountains of evidence, where the fuck is it? Where is all of your evidence to prove all this? And if this actually happened, this Hicksville wrist incident actually happened, why didn't you? You had the resources, you knew exactly where it was, you could have made phone calls. Where was the girl that this happened to? Why didn't she testify for you? Why didn't you call her up? Why wasn't she one of the witnesses that were listed after saying, like they had a list of witnesses that were denied? Why wasn't she on that list if there was a problem? or an attempt. I don't know what it was. Maybe she did. I don't know. But there was no call for this, and even Johnny didn't. So there was no girl. There was no girl that he did this to. Because I'm sure that if it was true, or if that happened in any sort of way, then he would have called her, because he did that with a lot of the rebuttal witnesses. Called her ass out. Called her ass out. It was just like insane. Over to the backless dress. I think this was Russia or Tokyo, or they were somewhere else. And she said that he was kneeling on her back. There's a situation where he was kneeling on her back, and she was so worried about doing this red carpet. I think it was like the Lone Ranger premiere or something like that. But she was wearing this backless dress. It's the one she chose. And he's controlling about the way she dresses, so I don't understand the whole backless dressing on the first part on that front. Hi. But, hi. But if he was kneeling on your back, and he obviously knew the type of dress you were wearing. So if he was kneeling on your back and, like, causing pressure or causing harm, or potentially causing marks, he's Johnny Depp. He is a public figure. People know exactly who he is. He's being photographed everywhere. Honey, now he's getting bored. Wouldn't he be worried if he was doing this to you and he wants to make sure his image is intact, and he knows you're wearing a backless dress? Why would he be damaging your back? Why would he risk making marks on your back that could be seen by hundreds of photographers around the world? You know what I mean? Like, why would that even be like possible? I don't understand. So that's what I don't know. Like, that was when I thought about it again. I was like, why would he do that? If he was an abuser, and he's a public figure, and you're wearing a backless dress, why would he risk you having marks, like, being seen by photographers? Of course they would speculate if there were marks. If there happened, everyone would speculate. Be like, oh my god, Johnny's an abuser. And if she had, I can go on a tangent, leaving it alone. Alright, and then the waterworks came again, and blah, 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 blah. So, the moral of the direct story is, she has done no wrong, and Johnny is a monster. And that has been her case through and through, and he just, it's just over exaggerated. And then of course, like, that was day one, and then day two she talks about the bottle incident, and it was horrific, the things that she was describing, and also there were some logistics that I didn't really understand, especially like because he had a fingertip cut off, and also wasn't sure in regards to the way he was holding her down, and then there was a bottle, and then she wasn't able, or like it was just hard to visualize what she was talking about. She's talking about being barefoot and slipping over glass, and trying to get out of there, and she was naked because he ripped off her nightgown, a nightgown that his doctor, or their doctor, gave her for her wedding gift, which I thought was fucked up, but whatever. That's just bonkers to me. Like, why would you? But then that's another thing. It's like, so Johnny's so controlling about your clothes, but yet your doctor, both of your doctor, gives you a lace nightgown for a wedding gift. That's a little odd, don't you think? And the fact that you were wearing it. Yeah, so she was describing this. He ripped this off, and his finger was cut off, but she didn't actually talk about. She talked about smashing a phone into the wall. Like, there were some things that were like some cans or whatever on the floor. There was a broken window. Okay, we've already seen evidence that Johnny likes to break things. Maybe not likes to break things, but he chooses to break inanimate objects versus hitting people, and he's described that several times. We've mentioned that several times. We've seen that in a video, and the next day when she was taking pictures, she took pictures of, she talked about this incident. She's like, oh my god, I just really hope it's not the broken bottle. Girl, okay, you would know if your man hasn't cut his fingernails. True. Your man have not cut his fingernails. And you're like, get out of here, like that hurts. So if a broken bottle is being used for what you're describing, you would fucking know. You would know. Okay? Like there's no if, ands, or buts, or guessing. You would know, and not only that, you'd be freaking shredded down there. And you would need to seek medical attention. Hi. No matter if you want to keep it a secret or not. And apparently Dr. Kipper and other medical professionals were there. What's up? Yes. Get it, get it, get it. Get it, get it, get it. Yes, okay. So if you have medical treatment, whether you choose to have medical treatment or not, like you would have to. You would have to. And apparently Dr. Kipper and the nurse were there, and like they didn't do anything. Come on. And then she also flew back to LA with Ben King, who was the house manager, the next day. So Australia to LA is a long flight. And then she also talks about, like, when she took pictures, she didn't take pictures of herself. She didn't take pictures of any real damage. She took pictures of some random words on lampshades and mirrors, which she was not even in the mirror, which I thought was really odd. She talked about her. What? Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Okay, that's enough. Okay, so he's settled with his milk and his show for now. So I want to get this video done, and I'm in my bedroom, and like, so I'm the only like blank wall that I got. So I want to get this done a little bit quicker, and figure out some sort of better setup for video giving or video taking. All right, so okay, so we were talking about the bottle incident, right? We were talking about Australia and how her version of events do not match the photos. The evidentiary support, as what Elle Woods would say. I've heard a lot of Elle Woods references through this trial, like the aha and the my cousin Vinny moments, stuff like that. But anyway, so evidentiary support does not go with the narrative that's been told. And the narrative is graphic. The narrative is uncomfortable to listen to watch. And she, again, I'm really not trying to give offense to, and if I do, I apologize. But I am someone who has experienced SA, and I've also talked to other people who've also experienced it, and the sense that you feel when someone is telling you a story like that really hits home in a certain way that you can relate to what they're feeling and to their sentiment. But this story was graphic, and it was uncomfortable, and I could not relate to her narrative in respect to, she wasn't talking about how she was feeling, and she wasn't, like, the way she was talking about certain things, it was just kind of, it didn't make sense, logistically didn't make sense. And when she's saying, when she's talking about him punching her in a certain area, and it's like, well, you would know if he was punching you. Like, you wouldn't just be sitting there like a doll. Like, it was just kind of, and he was thrashing around and throwing you in different places, or like on the table and holding you down, and things were broken and glass was everywhere, and you were stepping all over things with your bare feet, and but there's no injuries to you. Like, you walked out with unscathed, and I smile because that's just, it's not funny. Like, the scenario that she's talking about is not funny, but it's funny in the sense that you're talking about this, But we're not seeing that. Like, you're not showing that. When you talk about this mountain of evidence, when you're talking about a SA or SV, and you have nothing to back it up, it doesn't make your story credible. Okay? And also, when something like that happens, you don't just take a bunch of sleeping pills. And again, okay, maybe I'm not going to blanket this, but it just seems really odd that you would take a bunch of sleeping pills when she says two for me. Like, that would be a lot for me. It's like, something tells me that's not true. Tells me that's not true. Like, I have a feeling that you've taken sleeping pills before, considering that of your reactionary measures and the fact that you've seen a therapist like for many years, and you're seeing you have a private nurse, and you're also seeing a personal physician and all that kind of stuff. It just seems like something tells me you've taken sleeping pills before, but and maybe more than two. But anyway, so I don't know, maybe just max. Beside the point. So she says she takes sleeping pills, and the next morning she takes photos. And this is like a 3-day hostage situation, which I thought was ridiculous. I'm like, well, I don't think his security would have been away from you, or at least him, for 3 days. They were like 20 to 30 minutes away in another hotel, from what I understand. But there would not be 3 days without being in front of Johnny. Right? Like, that, they're his security. Like, if they were going to be without him for 3 days, then they would be just on vacation. It didn't make any sense that way. And it was also right after your honeymoon, or right after your wedding. And you're telling me no one saw you? No one saw your face? No one saw the injuries? No one saw the disastrous bar area that you talked about? The only things that were taken pictures of were lampshades, some paintings on, like, some defamed paintings, mirrors that had, like, messed up writing on, like, I think it was like a Carly Simon song lyric or something like that. Something in red, and then red lipstick, and then, she said all of her clothes were destroyed and thrown in the bathtub. But then she refers to a bathtub in the back of the room, or in the back of the bathroom, through the mirror. Like, you can see the reflection. It's like, well, why the hell didn't you just take a picture of the actual bathtub with your clothes in it? Like, that's what I understand. Why wouldn't you just, like, it's not criminal. Like, why don't you just take a picture so that you're explaining your narrative, or you're defending your narrative? It made no sense. So, she talks about this. And when she takes a picture of herself, or takes a picture of the mirror, she's not in. It's hard to take a picture of a mirror, like the whole mirror, without, like, seeing your arm or something like that, right? Like, it's hard to take that picture. Which is why when I was looking at them, I'm like, well, why the hell are all the pictures on an angle? Like, if you're looking at the mirror, everything's on an angle. Why wouldn't you just go straight up? Because if she took a picture of herself in the mirror, you wouldn't see any damages. You would not see any damages. It's like, okay, that's why your story's not credible, because you're afraid to show your face. But, and then, yeah, there's no pictures of her feet, that are all cut up. There's no pictures, there's no blood all over the floor. Like, Ben King, one of Johnny's, witnesses, said that, like, there were drops of blood, some on the wall, some on the carpet, like, on the stairs going up, and then there's, like, broken marble in a couple places, and then, like, a window was smashed. Okay, I believe that. The drips of blood are from his finger being cut off, not from her feet being sliced up everywhere. It's just, yeah, they were sliced up pretty good, and my face was all smashed up, and this and that, and it's like, what? I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. And it was just, I'm not saying nothing could have happened. Yes, there's a picture of a ping pong table, or like a or what's it called? Table tennis, ping pong? Yeah. Table tennis. Table, like, half was on the ground. Okay. Maybe that was staged. I don't know. No one was around. You're telling me that you two are the only people in the house, or in the vicinity? I know, like, the windows weren't open. I mean, it's Australia. Isn't it hot? Like, no windows were open. Were you not screaming? Like, nothing was happening. You didn't call the police, but Dr. Kipper was there right after, and Debbie Lloyd was there, and then Ben King, and then people were cleaning up, and whatever. Like, there was no destruction. Like, there was no destruction in the photos. There were some broken bottles. Like, okay, because she threw a vodka bottle at him and smashed to the ground. Like, it was just, the exaggeration and the theatrics of the description that she gave did not match the pictures and evidence that she produced. Now, she says she has a mountain of it. We've mentioned this before, a mountain of evidence, and it has not come in. She said, I provided everything. I provided everything. So we wanted to get it across. And keep in mind, that whole testimony was very uncomfortable, and it was a very quiet place. She was showing a little bit more tears, a little bit more emotion with it, and it was just like, wow, you're pretty committed. Like, that was a pretty committed story. And yes, I do believe it was a story. I don't believe there was truth to that at all. Because she didn't talk about, really, Johnny holding his hand, or hurting his hand. Like, she didn't talk about that much. She talked about a phone being smashed, like he was smashing a phone into a wall. Ben King did not mention anything about a big freaking hole in the wall. Sorry, but if he was smashing a phone into the wall, the drywall would have been crumpled. I'm not a carpenter, but I do know that. Like, it's just how that would work. So, we're done with that. We're done with direct. She was over. Like, she was crying and then, like, doing her thing and doing her narrative, all that kind of stuff. There was really no other response. Like, she wasn't explaining, like, what he was saying to her. And even in the audio that was shown, or that was played, not in regards to Arcelia, but it's just in general audio, she doesn't talk about him. Like, I think there was a couple of references to, stop poking me, stop pushing me into the wall, and then she was upset that he was leaving, and all of a sudden she gets really aggressive and confrontational within the same breath, and you're kind of like, what? Like, oh, you like that, you like that, you like that? It's like, okay, well, like, she was trying to play him, and I was like, okay, whatever. And he was admitting, he's like, I don't hate you, like, you're pissed off at me for something I never did, and whatever. She doesn't talk about the drugs. She doesn't talk about him, like, actually hitting her. She doesn't talk about, she talks about sex, or, violence. Like, he was in the beginning of the conversation, and she starts talking about, like, about SA and DB and all that kind of stuff. But he's not in the rest of this audio, and I was like, is she talking to herself to make it look like they're having this conversation and she's accusing him of that? Because if she was accusing him of that, if he was in the room, he would have rebutted. Like, that's just it would be consistent with the way he was talking to her before. Like, let me leave. You don't let me leave. You won't get out of my way. I'm going to go. I'm going to take my space. You stay here. I'm going to go there. And then we'll talk later type of scenario. Like, he always does that. There's always a two-way conversation. And there's one audio where she talks about this kind of stuff. And his voice is nowhere to be seen or heard. So, like, after the beginning part of it, like, he's gone. So I don't know if that was her having some sort of monologue. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So that's done. All direct is done. And then we get to cross-examination. Cross-examination with Camille. Cross-boss Camille. Okay. I'm going to go real quick. So we're going to go just blend in day 1 and 2. Day 1, she was wearing a black dress. Day 2, she was wearing a white dress. It was very, very fitting. She talked about the ACLU and the donation money and how, like, she pledged to donate the $3.5 million to ACLU and $3.5 million to the Children's Hospital. It's like, yes, no, I did. She goes, no. You testified that you donated, paid. Like, you haven't paid. You haven't donated X and X to X and X. She's like, yes, I did. No. It's like, that's what I pledged. Okay. Then we had the whole pledge and donate, girl. It's like, oh, well, I use pledge and donate synonymous. It doesn't mean the same thing. And then she goes on to say, when you buy a house, you pay it in installments. You don't pay for the whole house, or whatever the hell she said. But really, her argument would have been better if she said, like, her pledge versus donation. It would be the same comparison as if you were bidding on an object at a silent auction and thinking that when you bid on something, that means you paid it. Like, that's how I took that. I'm like, yeah, girl, unless you pay it, that shit isn't coming home with you. You actually give them the money, it's not going home with you. So you can bid $100, but unless you actually give them the $100 bill, that shit's not going home. So unless you actually give $3.5 million in hand to the ACLU, you did not pay shit. You did not pay shit. And yes, okay, fine. There's some money was donated here and there from Elon Musk and all that kind of shit, and Johnny donated $100,000, cool. But you did not donate $3.5 million in total to the ACLU and Children's Hospital. That went on forever until she, like, Camille, like, she was like showing up videos, like they were on this Dutch or Danish show where she said 7 million in total was donated to blah blah blah. It's like, I wanted nothing. It's like, girl, of course you wanted something. And then she blew it that like she spent $6 million on legal fees, and I was just like, okay, so you had the money. Like, you had the money for 13 months before Johnny sued you, so you could have paid that money, whatever. So that went on for a bit. What's irritating was that she never had a yes or no response. She said yes, but then she would say yes, blah, blah, blah. Like, just yes or no. But Amber is the type of person who likes to control her own narrative, which you're kind of seeing throughout the trial, that she makes a lot of the calls to her legal team. Which, okay, in fairness, like, you're paying them, whatever, but she wanted to run the house, no matter what her team was, or what her legal team was telling her. That's what it felt like. That's what it looked like. Like, it was ridiculous. And I don't think that she understood that the cameras were on her all the time. Like, if we can see shit, like, we know what's going on. Obviously we don't know what's said, but we can infer with your body language, we can infer what's happening. So she kept saying, that was my experience with him, yes. That was my experience with him, yes. That was my experience with him, yes. Like, that was 3 times in a row she said, that was my experience. But then she'd be like, so you're Camille, and she'd be like, that would be my experience. That would be my experience. That was my experience. Like, that was I just got whiplash from that, but that's what she did with the jury. And then she would go off on these tangents, and then Camille would bring her back and say, no, misheard, that wasn't my question. She goes, what was your question? I'm sorry. It's like, answer the question. But I think she was doing that to buy herself time to figure out the actual proper answer. I feel bad for her lawyers on this. Like, for real, it's like, oh my god, just answer the question. Like, just be truthful and answer the questions. Like, it's not that hard. Might be hard for Amber, but in general, it's not that hard. But yeah, she kept staring at the jury, and then she'd go off on these narratives and just be like, I'm sorry, what was your question? It's like, holy shit. And then anytime that Camille would bring up a picture, after she testified that Johnny was wearing a bunch of rings, and you testified repeatedly that testified in March of whatever, I think it was 2015 and 2016, that he hit you multiple times in the face. She's like, what date in March? You weren't specific. It's like, neither were you in your testimony. You weren't specific to a date. You said multiple times in the face. How many times did he do that? If he hit you more than once in the face, your face would be minced meat. He wears big, chunky rings. You've testified to that. Whatever. So, anytime she showed her a picture correlating with the testimony, again, it didn't match up. And at any times, like, you can't see injuries on your face in this picture, or your body, or your back, or wherever in this picture, can you? None that you can see, no. None that you can see, no. Well, that's what it means if you can see any injuries. There's no visible injuries. None that you can see, no. None that you can see, no. Okay. All of these pictures have multiple angles of her body. Okay, she's either in bathing suits, or in tank tops, or in backless dresses, or her face is in different formats, like, none that you can see. So it just so happens that every single picture in multiple angles and different parts of your body are covered or uncovered. Those are the parts that don't show injury, but there's injuries in the hidden parts that get made. Like, I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? So anytime there's a shot of you with, like, your, like, naked parts of your body, or, like, exposed parts of your body, those are the parts that are magically the ones that are not physically assaulted. When he's hitting you multiple times in the face, and your lips are going into your teeth, and you have broken nose and swollen eyes and all this kind of stuff, like Camille was just, like, setting him up and knocking him down, like, just kind of, like, impeaching her every which way. And it was fun to watch, and it was, you could tell that Amber was getting frustrated because she was getting real snarky, and then she would just kind of, like, just, I don't know, smart mouth her. It was annoying. And, like, she's that type of person, but it was annoying and so disrespectful. And it's like, girl, you're the one that's sitting here. You're the one that's on the stand. So if you want either to win or for people to tell the truth, then fucking tell the truth. But this whole case is based on lies. It's on lies. She is a liar, a big, fat, juicy liar. Okay? Like, that's just how it is. And it was just so, like, it was so frustrating. It's like, just answer. Like, you want credibility, you want your name, you want to have your integrity. that ship fucking sailed. Like, integrity? Are you kidding me right now? Whew. They talked about Russia and the broken note, like for the, Russia was the Lone Ranger, so I think that might have been the backlist address too, but I could be wrong. Talked about the Met Gala, May 2014, so there's a little bit of timeline. May 14, talked about a broken nose. No one can see it. She goes, that's what I thought I had. Okay, my son hit me in the face with a calculator. Like, he was playing with a toy calculator, and I leaned in, and he got startled, and he swung at me with this picture, and it swiped me across the bridge of my nose. That stung like a mofo. Like a mofo. Like, I felt that ringing for at least 10 minutes. And I had a little bit of tenderness. It was sore for at least a day or half a day. So you're telling me that you didn't know if you had a broken nose? Are you kidding? And there he is. There's my little guy right there. There's my little guy right there. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. Say hi. Hi. Are you having a fish? Do you have a fish? You have a fish cracker? Okay. Yeah. So you're telling me that you can't tell if you have a broken nose. Whatever. And then she said that it was under her makeup, and then she has a picture of it, and then Camille's like, but a picture that's not in evidence, right? I produced everything. I gave over everything. It's not my job to hand it to you, blah, blah, blah. So she's basically throwing her lawyers under the bus. And when you're talking about integrity, and these people are trying to fight for your honor, essentially, and fight for your name, and you're treating them like shit. Like, it was awful. I not, like, love her lawyers, but, like, they don't deserve to be talked to or treated like that. Like, absolutely not. And they're doing the best they can with a very difficult client. Very difficult client. It's awful. This has been brought up several times. She's an actress, and she's seeking no medical treatment. I'm sorry. Whatever. And then, this was like a buzzword. Like, if I had a shot for every time she said this, I would be, like, on my ass. Instead of saying yes or no, it's, that is correct. That's correct. That's correct. That is correct. I'm like, girl, like, stop it. I'm like, you're freaking the jury out, and you're freaking me out. Quote, narrowly surviving. Narrowly surviving him. It's like, girl, you didn't narrowly survive shit. Narrowly surviving. Again, a little over dramatic on that one. If you, I'm not saying that just because you didn't take pictures, just because you didn't, like, it's not an audio, it never happened. I'm not saying that because, you know, obviously it can happen, but you documented everything. Okay. I'll put my laundry. You documented everything. Well, everything about Johnny. So you made sure that you took pictures of him sleeping and, like, falling asleep on the floor with ice cream spilled on his lap, with everything and anything that can embarrass him, but you didn't take any pictures of your so-called injuries, your so-called evidence to support your claim of being a person that represents SA. And that was really frustrating, and I'm sure that's frustrating to everybody that's been watching. And she said, when she was asked, like you were his abuser, right, or whatever, I'm not supposed to say the word on YouTube, but when Camille asked, like, you were really basically the perpetrator, right? And she's like, I could never hurt Johnny. It's like, that wasn't the question. That wasn't the question. And you did hurt him. You did hurt him. And of course you can hurt him, but that wasn't the question. Did you hit him or not? I can never hurt him. That wasn't the answer. It's not the answer to the question. So it was very evasive and, again, annoying. And it's very telling, too. Very telling. She was so irritated about the birthday dinner, her 30th birthday dinner. Okay, girl, this man has a lot of people that help him with his money, a lot of people that apparently have screwed him over with his money. He's got big things on the go. You're having a dinner. He's already called you. He's texted you. Like, saying he's not going to be there, and, like, you're still pissed that he's not there. Okay, fine. He makes a fool of himself while he's there. He insults you while he's there. Okay, that's fine. But you know what? Just get over it. Like, you're pissed off. Get over it. Or just say, hey, you know what? You're going to be late. I'm going to enjoy the party. You take your time. Let's have dinner tomorrow night. That would have been a nice compromise if you were really that supportive and loved your husband. Okay? If you were understanding and supportive, obviously you wanted to be there, he's obviously going to be late, and then you also ask him to bring in the wine and bring drugs and bring a joint, you're not going to bite his head off. You're supposed to support his sobriety. And then there's more on the sobriety thing about like his detox in, I guess, on the island or whatnot. What he said in his testimony that he wanted his sister Christy to be at the detox, not Amber. He said he couldn't do it with Amber, but then she like apparently insisted to be there. And then when she was asked to be there, and then she complained or was acting like victimized herself in regards to not knowing what to do, and that he yelled at her or did whatever, like was inappropriate to her, being very like ungrateful. Like, well, if she's going through a detox, man, like his feelings of you are really irrelevant at that point. But she's like, well, he asked me to be here. It's like, no, he didn't. He didn't want you to be there. He wanted his sister to be there, from what I remember from his testimony. Him the man she loves. I'm like, if you loved him, why'd you cheat on him so many times? There was one thing about incessant text messages. And she's like, yes, I was afraid he was going to go into the cycle. I was afraid he was going to go into the cycle. I was like, well, no, that you presumed it. You presumed he was going to go into the cycle. And he said he was needing space. Give him the space. Because it's technically, like, you're assuming his actions. And I don't think you're understanding that. It's harassment. What you're doing is harassment. And when he wants a space, give it fucking to him. Like, it's not that big a deal. Like, just give him a space. He'll come back. Whatever. And if you didn't want to be seen, if you didn't want this to be out in the world, if you just wanted to get the TRO, go to the court and do what other people do. Unfortunately, this happens. But if you don't want to be seen, wear a hoodie. Wear a hoodie with a hood up, big glasses, and like put your hair up so no one actually sees you. Go into the courthouse and do the same thing when you're leaving. There's only one reason the paparazzi would have been there. That's because you called TMZ. So get off your high horse, especially when the TMZ guy came to testify for Johnny as a rebuttal witness to break your story. You leaked the TMZ video. You leaked it. You got the press there for your TRO, all that jazz. So that is kind of like my recap. It kind of seems like a little chaotic because I'm doing with a 2-year-old or like a 18-month-old that can't sit still and it's late and he's got to go to bed. But I need to get this out before verdict comes. Hopefully tomorrow. I pray that it comes tomorrow. But I'm honestly on my camera right now. I'm actually using my camera right now. My house is a mess. Yeah, so that is my opinion on, and a less emotional opinion on Amber's testimony. It was wild. Like, honest God, it was wild. It was, again, some things I do believe. I believe that she loved him. I believe that they had this whirlwind romance. I believe that he showered her with gifts. I believe that she was worried about him. I believe that she was worried that she didn't know how to do the right things. I believe that because, you know, when you love someone and they're going through a tough spot, absolutely. But when you have your own agenda and it really comes through in the way you're speaking, yeah, it doesn't work well for me. Anywho, but now that the evidence is in, again, I have a couple more videos on my recap of like my impressions of some of the things with her, with some of the witnesses, not just hers, but other witnesses as well. Yeah, so I'm hoping that the verdict comes in tomorrow. I pray, you know, justice for Johnny, absolutely 100%, and that you know, after this they both heal. I really do. I really hope that they both heal and just go live life, and I hope that her and her daughter have a great life, a great happy life, and that, you know, she gets help, that he gets help for his abuse problem, she gets help for whatever demons that she's struggling with, because I feel like she's burnt a lot of bridges. Like, her witnesses weren't credible because they're obviously following her narrative, but also the same thing, I'm pretty sure her sister, or no, it's proven that her sister, it's not in evidence, but it's proven that her sister lied on the stand for her. And that's very dangerous, and I don't know what's going to happen, but there was evidence that couldn't come in, but everyone in the public has seen it. The jury hasn't seen it. Yeah, and she was just very, she wasn't friends with anybody anymore. But then all of a sudden she became friends with them again, like 2 months before they testified. So it was really weird. But anyway, I hope they both heal, and I do obviously do hope there's a positive verdict for Johnny. And even if there isn't, and they both lose, because Amber's not going to win her counterclaim, but if they both lose, Johnny still wins in public opinion. He's already won, and he's just like he wanted everyone to hear his truth, and it's out there, and he should be applauded for that, because it wasn't flattering, but really glad he did it. And yeah, so we'll see how tomorrow goes. But you guys, thank you so much. You have a wonderful night, and we'll catch up with you soon.